What does it mean to be perfect? To be without flaw? To be as good as possible? To be absolute? The stride to perfection is a difficult one, and with so many potential roads there, it can be easy to get lost. And so you have the start line of Niji no Yume, a prospective student of 4 Stars Idol Academy, with aspirations to join its premier unit, S4, made up of only the best students in each of the school's 4 main classes. Heart full of hopes in her shining dream, her application performance stunned everyone with a breakout concert, displaying skill well above any other applicant. Without prior deed to her name, she turned heads right off the bat. Yet as all eyes watched her start her courses, she seemed far from exceptional. In fact, she could barely keep up. How could the student that seemed so mundane have performed such a great concert? Even more bafflingly, why couldn't she even remember having done so? This bizarre outcome was the result of the Aikatsu system, the technology responsible for the performances of all idols. It wouldn't be an understatement to say that the Aikatsu system is something of a god in the machine. Those who curry its favor are granted with wings, establishing their skill in their field. And with Yume, it gave her something of a blessing. In concerts where she was pressed to her limits, her skill would go beyond her typical abilities, giving her power and allowing her to dominate trial after tribulation. The principal even egged this on, purposely pushing Yume into difficult situations one step at a time so that she could come to understand the blessing that she received, that which allowed her to enter the academy, that which allowed her to regularly surpass Lara. That hardworking and talented rival was being upstaged by the apparently clumsy Yume on all counts through this power that was not her own. The foundation of the school was on the basis of self-producing. Its students intended to learn how to manage themselves and their own careers. Their dresses are designed by themselves, their songs, the choreography, the opportunities they seek outside of idol performances. The school can build their foundations, but they must grow as idols by acting on their own. The blessing of the Aikatsu system is something of an antithesis to the core ideology of the 4 Stars Academy, granting ability without it being earned through the efforts of the self, and for indulging in its power, Yume would suffer a curse. Through coming to rely on a power that was not her own, she would eventually have to sacrifice her ability to sing, that which she needs most of all as an idol. The risk in gambling on the system was reflected in Hotaru, a senior of the academy who was granted the same blessing, and came to rely on that power in place of her own. Through that power she made it into S4, achieving the dream Yume so wanted herself before retiring. Hotaru very well could have been an echo of Yume's future, achieving a dream before simply fading away, unable to shine without a voice. But the headmaster had specifically arranged to push Yume into using the blessing even more than she might have otherwise to show her the dangers in abusing it. Even with that power, Yume might achieve her dream and join S4, but she would go no further, if she could even make it that far. To have the best chance at accomplishing her dream, she would have to shed her reliance on that power, daring to try without the safety net it offered. She could put in all her efforts, but that fear of failure, the anxiety of not being able to succeed, would still gnaw at her, alluring her once again to use the forbidden power of the Aikatsu system, that threat further making her fear her own temptations. Hotaru had believed that without the power, she would be without worth, so she never gave it up. But while Yume sought her advice, not alone in dealing with the blessing of the system, she wasn't alone on this new path either. Her friends around her were already trying and failing without some great power hoisting them up when they were at risk of being knocked down. They took their falls, tended to their wounds, and got back up where Yume never truly had. With the blessing taken away from her, Yume first saw herself being knocked down, but in actuality she'd been dropped to the same level as everyone else, fighting the same battles and encountering the same obstacles. Truly closer to her friends, Yume chose not to give up despite all her fears. Without the power, she was merely operating on the same level as the others, and had to double her efforts to make up for what she hadn't been capable of on her own before. In the S4 selection, she would do her best without relying on that power, but ultimately she still lost. She still could not surpass her senior, and even though the graduating upperclassman's future transit would leave the spot open for Yume, it just meant that Yume had the room to improve and grow even still. Yume's path was one of hardship and difficulty, striving to her greatest shine on her own feet. But even as her efforts earned her a seat in S4, the world around them was still so much larger. The Aikatsu system could grant a glimpse into the window of perfection, but for those at the pinnacle it granted something even greater. The sundress was the guiding light of perfect Elza Forte, the greatest idol of the modern day. She wanted to outshine all, and achieving the sundress would be the crowning jewel of her career. The sun is that which shines brightest in the sky, and though she only took the best idols into her school, Venus Arc, it was all in service of her goals. The sundress would only appear if 9 great idols each earned the Star of Wings, one for every planet of the solar system. Elza needed the success of others, so she fostered them as fuel, her episode a solo one. Elza sought only the sunlight, so she burned the hottest, willing to burn even the school away once she had achieved her goal by shutting it down, taking nothing from the others she surrounded herself with as they learned so much from her. She marched blindly into her sun, to the one she followed. The previous owner of the sundress was at the very center of the idol world, Elza's own mother. The roads she forged laid the foundations for all idol activities, and her deeds had yet to be surpassed. She was the great sun at the center of Aikatsu, eternally shining. So Elza had to meet that, achieving the same deeds with her own power. She had to be perfect by all accounts, because she believed that if she could not match her mother, she would not deserve her embrace. As a child, she was never congratulated with a mother's touch, only her words. And in this, she believed she had failed. She was good, but not good enough. And the sundress became her fixation. She would become good enough by matching the best of the best deed for deed. Only perfection would allow her to get what she wanted. The girl not even understanding that through burning the hottest, she became something that no one could touch. Burning alone made her shine, thus all other perspectives became moot. However, her mistake was in following the footsteps of the old rather than finding her own shine, a phrase repeated throughout the second half of the show, above all in regards to Yume. Through her experiences, she not only continued to improve her shine, but allowed everyone around her to shine as well. Elza's school was one that ground individuality out of its students, seeking either those who could match their standards, or those whose individuality was so strong it could not be contained, the others who slipped through the cracks being left to the wayside. But where Elza discarded them, Yume was able to push them to find their own shine despite that failure. The one least capable of shining, Yume had proved that she could shine after building herself from nothing, and where Elza stood alone, Yume wanting to see everyone realize their own potential created bonds that made her stronger. Alone, one only limited themselves, because through other lights one could find new power. Yume had learned plenty about dress design, but Koharu was a genius in that field, so rather than match her, she utilized her friend's willingness to help. In a field with so many individual aspects, each one worth dedicating one's life to, by accepting help from another she allowed herself to shine even brighter. Because in the symbolic motif of shining, where Elza is represented by the sun, Yume's symbol is the rainbow, which shines not through one but many. And this nature allowed Yume to stand next to Elza on the stage. Before her last concert, she was helped by so many of her friends, each of them aiding her in reaching the greatest possible shine she could. She'd already spent the first half of the show fighting for her own power, showing she did not need to rely on anything or anyone to achieve greatness. But that didn't mean others couldn't help or otherwise strengthen her. Laura, Mahiru, Yuzu, Ako, Hime, Shirogane, Koharu, those 7 willingly helped Yume's shine grow even brighter, forming the rainbow road she walked. As established in Message of a Rainbow, the rainbow is that which comes after the rain. Through overcoming the downpour of hardship, Yume grew, but in using the shine of others to bolster herself, she found another tomorrow to strive for, stepping out onto her dream stage and achieving her own sundress, a new design completely different than the one Elza had sought and achieved by following the path of her mother. A tomorrow is a new day, a new horizon. Elza's mother achieved what was once a tomorrow, one that shaped the idol world into its today. But Elza only sought to continue that even when it became the yesterday, only managing to achieve the same shine, where Yume pushed forward, beyond the supposed perfection of today, pushing for an even greater shine. The sun shines brightest in the sky, but it's only the closest star. Other stars all have the potential to burn just as brightly, even brighter, but the difficult journey of reaching that shine must be accomplished first. Elza had finally lost, and through that loss she got what she wanted in her mother's embrace. It's not the victor who needs the comfort of others, but the one who knows defeat. Elza only being held when the falling star stopped burning so hot. Elza's loss finally allowed her to see the possibilities she'd been missing by accepting her own perfection. That absolute perfection is only a human idea, not something real. For to truly be perfect, one must continue onward rather than settling for less. Yume could have perfectly achieved her dream of being an S4, but in refusing to settle for less, she took the next lap and became the top idol in the world. And by doing so, she pushed Elza to improve, to do that which hadn't been done before, to find shining new horizons all her own. Being lost in that journey might be frightening, but that's part of the adventure in finding those new ways to shine. This video has been a long time coming, but here's more content literally no one asked for. Thanks again to my patient patrons such as Funny Star Wars Man, Moz, Mohammed Akim, Flarbu, Gloogle, Louis Segura, Oliver Mort, and Gabriel Murr. And thanks again for watching.